Fancy intro music, yeah! Woo! Hey there, Star Trek Fleet Command fans. Welcome back to another Bad Officer Crewing video where you submit the pictures of just terrible crew loadouts, or what you believe is terrible, and then we review some of those on the channel. And I will say I had so many submissions this past month, I actually waited to put this video out. This is a couple weeks later than we typically do this. So one, let's start off with the reminder that if you do appear in this video, it has nothing to do with you as a player. You could be fantastic. You could have just hot swapped a crew. This is about educating players on what a good crew and a bad crew can look like, and we do both of those on this channel. So it's not an attack on you. Second, hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. Do want to remind you, donate to the local charity of your choice. I just did a stream fundraiser where we raised over $100, I think like $200 something for charity in Austin. It's the holiday season, and if you can give, then I suggest that you give. Donate to charity. It's a fantastic thing that you can do. And let's go ahead and get started on this video. And we're going to start with a level 50 on my server, not because he did one-shot my base with the Newton, which is not badly loaded out at all, by the way, but because I caught him last month with a loadout that simply cannot be allowed on his ISS Jelly. This is before he hit level 50. Congratulations, Theory, on being level 50. He had ISS Jelly with Harrison as captain, Spock, and Borgdesius? Question mark. He did. And let's talk about why. And of course, my ship crewed out perfectly. It kind of would be bad if I had a bad crew loadout. So yeah, it works. Let's talk about John Harrison here. Now remember, his captain's ability is when fighting explorers, John Harrison increases the weapon damage of the ship by 20%. That's 2-0, which sounds like a pretty legitimate rise if you forget that it's simply a base bump. And if you remember, in this game, 20% is nothing. It really is, because if you've got the PvP research, which Theory probably does, that's 150%. If you've got just officers maxed out in attack, that's a 300% bonus to your DPS. So this is blah. Now, the secondary ability is not blah. Obviously, that's what makes John Harrison so freaking good. But here, it's blah, and that's why he shouldn't be captain. But let's move on to who else we had, which, of course, I don't know why. We would have to build up. Spock obviously doesn't work here. Nobody's turning on morale. Nobody turns it on. Spock's completely useless. Then you have Borgdesius, which is one of my favorite cards in the game, particularly when it comes to doing my Borg probes. But the secondary ability is not bad. You see, I'm working on leveling mine up. I'm holding off because I'm actually trying to level up 5 of 10 instead. But 710 increases the health of every officer on the ship by 70%. That's actually not bad. That's going to help you with a hull boost. But in general, for when you're putting crews together, it's surprising to see this particular loadout. So it's not that 7 of 10 doesn't necessarily go here. It's just surprising to see. And it is nice for a lot of the fans out there to see a level 49/50 with a bad crew loadout. It gives them hope that maybe they could win. Maybe. Doubtful, but maybe. Moving on to the next one. Shout out Theory, by the way. Theory's going to come crack my base again. We've got a twofer. I don't remember who sent this to me, but it got sent to me where both names are kind of covered up. But we got a twofer. We got Gorkon, Arkady, and Carol on a Saladin with Nero, Kumak, and Chang on a Gladius. There's so much wrong going on here that we don't know how to properly relay how wrong it is, so we're just going to say this is bad. Actually, that's incorrect. We do know how to properly relay. We're doing it on the video right now. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. Arkady. Why is he, as an officer, a 60% shield health of the ship? Once again, that's a based boost. It means completely nothing. If it meant anything, the shields would still be up, and they're not. Even as a captain, which I know a lot of people talk about his captain's ability, is not that good. But anyway, then you got Gorkon, which Gorkon fits here. No problem with the Gorkon at all. And then Carol? Carol? Why? Why Carol? Well, let's talk about why Carol, because I think there's some confusion there. I think I know why this Saladin owner has Carol on. And you can have plus 25 to weapons damage. And that, I mean, for a Saladin, that's not necessarily terrible. I really want to know what else this Saladin pilot has. I mean, maybe he has an Enterprise and an Augur, and he was just throwing this on there. But a 25% boost is really not that much. Now, granted, I've only got a level 2, and I don't know what level that Carol was. But the big one for Carol has always been her captain's ability, which is a bait setup to get them to attack you with full synergy, and then you kill their, damage. But it's odd to see that with Arcadia. Either way, it's not good. It's not necessarily the worst officer loadout we've ever seen on this channel, but it's certainly not in the top 5. Maybe it is the top 5. Guess it depends on which direction you're going. Let's move up back to Nero, Chang, and then Kumak. So for all those who follow the channel, Kumak should always be captain between him and Nero because his captain's ability is far superior to Nero's damage boost. At the beginning of each round, Kumak increases the stats of all officers of the ship by 5% at the beginning of each round. So you got a cumulative boost. That's really nice. They need to put the word cumulative there in parentheses because I'm pretty sure that's how that works. But anyway, he's the better captain amongst Nero. And then we come to Chang, who literally doesn't work here because, well, nobody's turning on hull breach. 100% chance to delay the opponent's weapons fire for 1 round with a critical hit on a hull breach. Very specific requirements, and we've gone over before how he actually works, which is even then more specific. But we're getting him into a loadout here where he literally has no chance of working. So why is he here? Only the owner knows. And sadly, I'm not the owner. So let's move on to another one where we finally have an Enterprise back on out. And it's an Enterprise with a new crew loadout. So I wanted to talk about this one. So we've got a level 37 versus a level 44. Both equal Enterprises in terms of tier. One winning drastically and one meh winning. So then we get into a real quick touch on here where Gorkon Khan Kirk is actually a very good loadout here. You see the leader ability with the officer boost. Most people will put Gorkon as captain in this situation, but Kirk will as well. You're basically running a critical build with the Enterprise, which is a very interesting run to do because if you remember, I've talked about this a lot, the Enterprise does not have great DPR. It doesn't. So you find ways to boost that and giving it critical, which for me 180% boost, and then hull breach, which is almost another 100% on top of that, then you're getting a pretty significant damage increase. So let's move on to the other Enterprise, which is loaded out with Ash Tyler, Saru, and Michael Burnham. So very, very interesting loadout here. And the Ash Tyler as captain hold position when defending on a capture node, which this was in Thalen Alpha. So maybe all officers on the ship receive a 60% bonus to their attack. My main point here is you can't tell me there's not better crews that you could be loading out. Also, remember, the beast inside requires burning, and if you didn't know, nobody there helps you with burning. Nobody. Saru does it, Michael Burnham doesn't. So you've got a meh officer whose best ability is definitely the officer ability, not even working. Let's move on to Saru. When avoiding danger. When fighting players, Saru decreases the opponent's weapon damage by 30%. This is actually something that you talk about pairing with a Carol for a trap loadout. I have really no problem with Saru's officer ability, but Saru as a captain when fighting players, every time your ship is hit by a critical, Saru decreases the critical hit chance by 10%. This is like an anti-con. That's actually where I find value in Saru, not in the avoid danger ability, but whatever. And then finally, Michael Burnham, which I know a lot of people ask me about because I'm always talking about get Giorgio and get Lorca, but I'm never as excited about Michael Burnham. So you've got Michael Burnham's second ability when fighting players for each weapon that hits the opponent, removes 30% of the total attack of all officers on your ship from the shield of the opponent. I actually love that ability when it's maxed. My thing with Michael Burnham is that officer ability is OP, but only when you get it to a high level. At 30%, it means nothing. And if that level 41 had a max one, you would notice it because the Enterprise's shields would be hurt. A maxed one can actually do a lot for you, but a low level Burnham is almost useless. And I've really found that in 2 years of the game, free-to-play people really don't get maxed epics. It's super difficult to do. So it's tough for me to really give a recommendation for Burnham for the average player. If you're a whale, definitely get her and get her maxed. She can help you fight off those Enterprises, especially on newer servers. But here, not really helping you out that much. Now, the steadfast ability, also, I'm not a big fan of. So the only thing that can really make this amazing is steadfast, if you want her as a captain, and then had this, and if you had her max on like a Sally, increasing the speed, run around, hit things, territory capture maybe, but here makes little to no sense at all for me. And we're going to look at one more. I had to limit it because there's so many, but we're going to go with a D4 here because I don't remember the last time we put a D4 on the screen, and it's from LT Frank, a level 40. Oh gosh, what is going on? So much is going on. I truly believe this was a hot swap by this whale. Level 40 is basically a whale. that's the only thing I can come with, because you've got 2 Borg officers and there are 2 mining officers within a speed boost officer. So you got 1 of 10. Remember, secondary ability is bodyguard. Protected cargo increased by 35%. Obviously, we don't need that on a D4 because that D4 should smash that auger. It should definitely smash that auger. And you got 10 of 10, which secondary ability is increased mining speed. So obviously, this dude did a hot swap, and the only officer he bothered to change was, let's move on up. Where is Pan? Pan being, of course, the getting up to speed, increases the impulse speed of the ship by 20%. So I went with speed on the D4, which is very common. But then to keep the Borg officers on there, a D4 should not lose to an auger like that. Properly crewed, that D4 should beat the auger, especially with all these new research that's out. So that's what makes this crew kind of, fix it. I'm going to put this one up to laziness, though. So I'm not necessarily coming at Frank for that loadout, but that's not a advantageous loadout for his D4. Well, there are 4 different bad crew loadouts. We typically do 4 or 5. I literally got dozens. If you wanted to be in the January one, submit yours to the Facebook page or to the Discord. Either way, I would love to see bad crew loadouts and help. And if you need help with crews, come to me. More than happy to do a one-on-one session with you and help you out. If you love it, like the video, hit subscribe, and even hit that join button if you want to support the channel, because I need it, just like everybody else does. Live long and prosper. Stay safe with the Space Cowboys, and we'll catch you on the next video of Star Trek Fleet Command Bad Officers Part. This was part 4, right? So I guess part 5. An even better outro than the intro. Yeah! Woo!